Welcome back everyone to our Let's Play series on Dominions 4 in the 7-person free-for-all series, playing as Shinuyama. And here we are in turn 42. This doesn't make sense, I already got into the game. Okay, there it is. There's the messages that I wanted to bring up first. We have now claimed the Throne of Winter. Fantastic. One more step closer to possibly getting that Ascension victory. We've also completed research and conjuration. Unfortunately, I am flying solo once again today, so no I Seen You Before, no Sam in order to help us to really figure out what we're doing with this, but I guess we already talked about it anyway, just moving down. This allows us to do the actual summon bishop fish, which we really wanted, and we can try to move into the living everything at level 7, so we'll do that next. So as I said, we claimed the throne. I guess it's a good time for us to look at the state of affairs in the thrones. We now have 2, 3, 4 officially, and Vanheim is still, despite being pummeled right now from a lot of different angles, still sitting in the lead with 2, 4, 5. Wait a second. Yeah, that is actually a lead. Okay, just making sure. Ulm actually with 3 points, not doing so bad themselves, and Gartha is sitting on their Throne of Flames, which they've been sitting on, basically the entire game. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on. I guess we'll just go through the battles first. We're doing a lot of Awakening of Vine Ogres, site searching, and a lot of interesting stuff that we'll be casting this upcoming turn as well. Now I'm actually ahead. I'm not recording this exactly when this turn came out, so I might be missing some of the stuff. I don't think anything diplomatically is really going on right now, and we'll talk about that as we get through the battles. Maybe the battles themselves might trigger some kind of memory or something that I wanted to mention, but let's start with the battle at Iron Range between Ulm and Vanheim. This is probably a small one, just Ulm just trying to shore up their lines, I believe. So it's a very small force against just a province level, province defense level 1. That's what it looks like to me. So Ulm has defeated them. In the Cerulean Sea, this is actually a pretty big battle. This is our sea force has been moving up from the underwater throne northward towards Vanheim proper. And finally, Vanheim decided to make, not finally, they've made several stands, but this is really going to be a significant stand with these 5 Hydromancers. I don't think we are well enough equipped in order to deal with this, and we'll see the result of the battle pretty quickly here. So it ends up being like a water elemental clash, but in the game of water elemental, war, he who has 2 versus 11 loses. And then 13, I'm just guessing the number, it could be more or less, but very quickly here we're destroyed and not even a single unit can escape. So we ended up losing all of our sorcerers, Vine Ogres, our Shura, and all we did was kill their Shark Knights. Now the Shark Knight's still a bit expensive, but I'm getting this feeling now that, well, every little bit counts, right? We want to crush as much out of Vanheim as possible, but they're still putting up a hell of a fight. So it's unfortunate that we lost such a significant force. That's a lot of Bakemono sorcerers to lose to, Hydromancer's obviously in their element underwater, so it's unfortunate that we didn't have more to deal with that. 5 Hydromancers is just a significant force. In Perenna, we have taken over the next little area here. I don't really think the battle is significant. I guess we can just show it very briefly. It's just chaff, and we plow through it pretty quickly. But it's kind of fun to watch these bigger forces fight. So there it is. It's over before it begins, really. In CERN, we have another battle. This, I believe, is, I'm not going to look, it's just Shura defeating province defense. So that was here, CERN. And now we have Man lost Farron Mountains long ago, and they finally retook it, and it was a pretty nice battle. So we can see how Man is doing. Man also making his way towards Vanheim's capital, so that's another thing we'll be on the lookout for. Yeah, so anyways, a sizable force that Man has gathered here. I like their Etten King. Anyway, we'll just put this on triple. There goes their cavalry, the Knights of Avalon, charging forth, really routing these guys almost immediately. It's just, and the second wave is like, well, just add insult to injury, right? So really well done. Didn't lose anybody. Killed all those uprising. I think that I thought that this was actually a bigger province. I think I was remembering the battle in Aeol that they recently fought to retake. Maybe? I don't know. I no longer have perspective when that happened. Anyway, so they finally retook the Faron Mountains. It's been, you know, that didn't seem that difficult, but it's been unoccupied for a long time. So in Juek, or Huek, whatever, however we want to pronounce this, it looks like Ulm attacking Vanheim yet again. I think this might be another insignificant battle, but we'll still take a look. Looks like, yeah, it is. So just province defensive 1. Waystar appears to do the same thing I do, which is just leave things at 1. And it doesn't matter if anybody escapes. Once they're routed, if they lose, all the defenses there are gone anyway. Cool, we'll just look where that was. So actually pretty far forward. I don't remember where Ulm's original line even was. I'll have to bring out maybe next episode the chart of where we predicted our lines would be drawn between Ulm, Man, and myself after Vanheim was slaughtered. Oh, and speaking of, Vanheim is now actually being besieged by Man, so very, very interesting. Griffin Spires. Okay, this is not much to look at itself, just because Ulm had already said that they'd be giving up Griffin Spires. Man has taken Griffin Spires. This was already discussed. The treaty enforced that weird situation where even Airmore was brought. Even Vanheim was brought into the discussion about what to do with Griffin Spires. I mean, it's a very strange thing that, looking back on it, still having, you know, the enemies of the world, the enemies of the people who are discussing what to do with Griffin Spires, also invited to talk about what to do with Griffin Spires. We'll just take a look at this battle real fast. Okay. Yeah, this is not much. This is just Ulm's province defensive 1 going up against any number of these Vine Ogres would be enough. There must be some kind of leader in here, though. There he is. Just a daughter of Avalon, and she is enough. So I think that they take that no problem. Solian, I think this is another province defense Shura slaughter. So we've taken Solian, taken Cern, so we've actually reached the coast now. So we've now conquered all this area south of the mountain passes near Vanheim. So all this area, all the wasteland has now become ours. Kind of an interesting map if you think about it. Like, it isn't randomly generated, but I mean, it shows, I think, because it's a pretty convincing geography. So we've now swept through all the wastelands, and we've even taken Forest of Gun. Man has taken the rest of these. We can pull back from Forest of Gun, which is what we'll do. But we'll move in at Nashin, because I'm pretty sure that Man's army is strongly occupied, sieging down Vanheim. And that's a castle, so it's going to take them quite a while. And look at all these extra buildings, of course, that they have. So it'll take a long time for them to get through all those defenses. We, in the meantime, will just try to use this time to secure all of our holdings, move some troops out. I'm going to try to help out Ulm by moving in and starting to attack Vanheim's little raiding party into Ulm's territory. And part of the reason for this is I want to help Ulm because they're right now helping us fight Vanheim. But even more so, I would just want to deny these provinces from Vanheim. And that's more important. So in order to do that, we just need to take them away. And then I'll give them back to Ulm as soon as Ulm has the manpower to move back down south. There's still some other events we should go through. Let's see, Forest Gun. I think this was nothing, just province defense. And Phalia, we'll look at this. This might have been another. This is Ulm attacking Vanheim. So is there anything interesting here? Nope, just province defensive 1. We'll just skip that one out, right? So, yeah, this is the army I was thinking that is going to move back south. Okay, so Valador, we lost some population. Kennen, we lost some tax, which is unfortunate. But I think that's just a one-time. That's not like losing income, and just you don't collect as much tax for a turn. Whalewind Waters, a mackerel was seen chasing a shark. This is most certainly a bad omen. Indeed, very strange. So Misfortune is up by 2, and Unrest is up by 3. We'll go to that one just to show you. It's right next to Kennen, actually. So a whole wave of misfortune in this area. But it's not bad yet. And we were able to recruit, as we did last turn, the Reavers of the Deep. There it is. So the Reavers of the Deep, we bought them in Triton Sea. They can now push south down Whirling Sea into Sea of Karassos, and we can start putting pressure on this whole line. Unfortunately, this made a lot more sense when our other army was pushing up from the south, northward. And the fact that they were now stopped in their tracks is, it's a little unfortunate. Because the true stranglehold, the true way to cut off Vanheim is to deny them any sea provinces. That would be awesome. But it doesn't look like it's possible to do. So, that's fine. Okay, well, what else do we want to do? Talk about... Oh, Valdor had an uprising of nature, and we'll look at this battle. It's just my province defense, I think, against these forces, which is mostly Satire Sneaks. And we'll see that it's actually a pretty close battle. But in the end, well, the results will speak for themselves in a moment. These poor boars are untamed monster boar. Do they have trample? Yeah, they do. Okay, thought so. So in the end, you can see that we're not going to be able to hold this out. A valiant fight, but in the end, futile. And the good news is this is not one of those things where the fact that we still fought pretty hard there until our commander died, but it's not one of those things where the province defense is just going to respawn. Doing all this damage actually it's sustained. I mean, that damage, if we go back, there's not going to be any more 59 Satire Snakes. We actually will only have to deal with 38. That's still, reasonable number, but all the casualties we were able to inflict are meaningful. I don't have any plans to go to Valdor because my armies are all occupied elsewhere, but it's just something to note. Now we have these Ford and Solian taking damage, but not really. Also in CERN taking damage, but not really. I mean, these forces are really just the clearing Shuras. And then, ironically, although we were able to start doing damage to the other two, we were not able to do any damage at an NA Umbral, which shows that there probably is some kind of defensive force in NA Umbral, although I doubt I'll remember that in the future. Perenna, there's disease here. Okay, so we're pushing in with this secondary army, Takeo and Sunaharu. They're trying to unite with our forces in Scythia, who, by the way, we find they're getting Tortuga-san to cast Summer Lions, and he has his... he doesn't have any of the fire items this time, because I think we're creating an additional fire item somewhere. Where is it happening? Not there. There it is. Fusashige is forging a flame helmet, and he himself is wearing our Skull of Fire. So the Skull of Fire is actually something that's just next to you. It's a miscellaneous item. And then the flame helmet actually goes on your head. So you can have both the Skull of Fire and the flame helmet, which is what we plan to do. Use both of them. So in the meantime, Tortuga-san, with his still potent fire level 8, is going to cast Summer Lions, and he'll be able to gather, I think, a fair number of lions with that. And pretty soon it'll be time for us to move out if we want to go attack a Feasiboar. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I think there's not much to say about this because, again, I'm looking back from a future point in time and I don't know what events in diplomacy are happening around this time. I think we're still sending off as we are. Another 250 gold. We can right-click to read this message. We continue to offer what little subsidy we can for the continued rise of our dearest allies, the noble people of Ulm, the Bakemono. So 250 gold, that's all we have. We can see our treasury's down to 27. We need that money to do our own stuff, obviously. So we're trying to just send off that subsidy without limiting our own capabilities. Knowing that Ulm right now is holding out against both Agartha and Vanheim. And although, I mean, we're rooting for Ulm against Agartha just because Ulm is our allies, and Agartha we just have a pure non-aggression pact with. So Ulm has been... basically, if we want to be very selfish, very... like, if we just want to have one-track mind for a moment, whatever we can do to get Shinuyama to win type mindset, I think Ulm will offer more for us than Agartha will. I don't really have, I mean, I'm just, the whole situation between Agartha and Ulm, the whole way it started and everything is just, I think at least gave something for Agartha to do, because they haven't really been involved in a war, you know, a small, short one, those two words combined, with Vanheim, but it wasn't much. And this much more serious one that's going to go, I guess, I think this is like a blood feud full on. Nobody's going to back down between Ulm and Agartha. So, interesting times. What else? I think that's all I wanted to say in this episode. This basically wraps up what's going on. We're converging onto Scythia, Glimmering Fields, this whole area. And I'm moving a lot of troops into Glimmering Fields to hopefully prevent. So Yukinaga is going to go to Scythia, but I'm trying to move some nature mages and stuff into Glimmering Fields to prevent us from starving there, because again, we only have 48 supplies and we're using 180 here, so we need to diminish that usage by putting as many nature mages in here who will provide a little more food. And the whole area obviously is just totally, completely covered, like totally Death Dominion. So this is Airmore's home for sure. It's just a little unfortunate that Vanheim didn't finish them off. We kind of really can regret that moment now. If it wasn't for that, think how different this whole situation might be. We wouldn't have to deal with them. We could just march right to a Feasibor. But that would actually be, I think, I mean, if we end up having to fight Airmore, then it was to Vanheim's benefit not to kill them, ironically. That's so ironic to me that Vanheim not slaying the final... It's almost like that stroke of mercy that we hear in The Lord of the Rings, where Frodo, I think it was, talking with Gandalf, says it would have been better if Gollum, I should say, had died. And Gandalf says, who are you to, you know, basically cast judgment? It's better to pity him. If that's the kind of mentality Vanheim had, better to pity Sabouts and let him live, it's going to work out very well for him in the end, because I think that there's no way for us to go around. In order to get to a Feasibor, we have to go through Airmore's army. Okay, with that, I think we'll call this video to a close. We're gonna do some more we're slowly, I mean, we're continuing to research over here, because most of our forces are going to be moving out soon from here in order to make it to NA Emerald in time. And yeah, that's it. So we have this main army to attack a Feasibor and this main army to get NA Emerald, and if all goes well, then that's our Ascension victory. So I'm going to call this video to a close. Actually, I'm going to call this episode, or this turn, to a close, but I think we have time to squeeze in turn 43 as well. So stay tuned for that. I guess just in a second. Okay, here we are back in turn 43. And that is very close to the finish line. We end after turn 50, so... yeah, there's been a bit of discussion off camera since the end of... after the last turn was processed, but before this one, before I ended up doing anything in this one, between Ulm and I, and you can see we've gotten some water gems, some fire gems, and importantly, we also got a flying carpet. Basically, I seen you before and I, who, again, this is going to be just Tortuga for this recording, but we were doing some strategizing, and last turn I also forgot to mention that we got a lab built in blue water. So the very next step is to summon the bishop fish. We have moved an Upa into Emerald Lake, where thankfully our kelp fortress has been finished. So I'm probably jumping ahead of myself here. Let's just focus on, we'll talk about this in a moment because there's a whole diplomacy layer to this and it's very interesting. So I'll come back to this basically. And we casted Contact Naiad, and this was a mistake. I meant to do what was the spell that I meant to do? It's called Cast Naiad Warriors. So I got a Naiad, but I wanted Naiad Warriors. I made a mistake, and I hope that doesn't end up playing any part in our ultimate victory or defeat, but it may. Who knows? So anyway, but we'll get back to all this later. So, okay, we cast Summer Lions. We now have a ton of Summer Lions, and we'll get a few more. But just to show, look at that. we already have 10. And more to come, which is good, because these are, I mean, I guess I should actually showcase how effective these are. A lot of hit points. They are also difficult to hit. I think ethereal. And they have heat 3, which is, you know, can be helpful. Poison resistant, fire resistant. Mainly what they're going to end up doing, and unfortunately I think they'll be attacking during cold, but mainly what they'll end up doing is just trying to absorb some of the chaff from Airmore or possibly from Vanheim. That's what we want them for, though, is to help out with that. Going back down the line, just our other summons. There was a battle in White Water. Is this an interesting one? No. So this was just a scouting attack by Vanheim, and although we only have Province Defense 1, it's sufficient that he's not interested in trying to... Well, I mean, he didn't... It was just a scouting attack. We might even expect a follow-up attack, considering... I didn't want to put more Province Defense, considering these are Marrows, and they're just such weak units that I don't want to basically waste money. It's proportionately a lot worse to spend money on Marrow than it is compared to, like, spending on Ichthids, which I still don't know how to say. I still say Ichthids, but it's not right. But we can pronounce it any way we want, since it's a not a made-up word, but you know, it's a myth or a legend. It's not a real creature. I don't know why that would give us the right to pronounce it any way we want. We still want to communicate the idea, but moving on. How about that? Okay, now Vanheim actually took back Jack, Huek, whatever we want to call this. It wasn't much of a battle, but it was at least one where there was a reasonable amount of fighting. Basically, the Vans and the Van Jarl just way overwhelmed this. The Van Hurst and the Van Jarl and the Vans, I mean, this is a very potent army by Vanheim. So they were able to easily dispatch with Ulm, their province defense, and any other forces they had in there. In the Whirling Sea, I think this is just our... Oh yeah, this is our Reavers of the Deep. They moved in, they took care of whatever was there. We set up some province defense. Now we're moving to Sea of Karassos next. Not much to say about that one, though. We just defeated their forces very quickly. Let's see, Summerlands. This was, I think, another Shura fighting. Oh, we actually fought some of their Hawks this time. Oh yeah, this is me trying to reconquer some of the Ulm's lands for them. So these birds came in, they flew in, and let's see, we have hit points 20. Let's see how lucky we get. Okay, they flew away, we're still at 20, so that was pretty quick, and we'll take care of the rest. Okay, so that was a pretty simple fight. Our Shura was never in danger. I knew he wasn't in danger, but I'm always interested in seeing, does he even take any hit point damage. So that's that one. A lot of their Blackhawks escaped, but they're running out of places to run. So that's, you know, good. We're going to go ahead and move into Satala next. So we've taken Shade Forest. Oh no, we already had Shade Forest. We've taken Summerlands. We're moving into Satala. And I assume Ulm will move into Sonria because he's not in position to move to Satala. So I can't really see what's there, but that's what I'm assuming. Okay, let's see. Stonegrave Mountains, unfortunately, has now rebelled. Air Elementals have formed. I think what we're going to end up doing, because this is actually a pretty sizable force which has taken away. I mean, it's just Province Defense of 1, so this is over immediately, but I think what we're going to end up doing is just giving this province up, because these are not particularly weak. This is not particularly weak. These air elementals, we actually probably need to get some casters in here, and I don't know. I don't want to have to deal with this, so we'll probably just save. This province has just been raided, and so much bad luck has come from this province because of the... what is it? Well, we don't have access to it now, but there was the thing we discovered there, which is just causing tons of trouble. We're constantly putting down little rebellions. It seems like there's so much misfortune, although it's just our normal level of misfortune. So I'm just not even interested in really retaking it. It's kind of like, okay, you know, wash my hands, that's it. We're done with the Stonegrave Mountains. It's for the birds. Okay, so let's see what else is interesting before we get into the important thing. Yes, this is really important that our Kill Fortress is now finished in Emerald Lake. I basically think that's going to secure Emerald Lake from any kind of siege or anything for the rest of the game. I mean, that's what I presume, and it's quite a presumptuous statement. We could easily be attacked there, but I don't think anybody has the water wherewithal, except for maybe a Gartha, and I don't see a Gartha coming down here. I don't think Vanheim is going to try to risk, although we've seen the potency of those Hydromancers, but I don't think they're going to risk coming down here to try to take it. It's only worth 1 point anyway, and in my opinion, Vanheim probably has better fish to fry, or bigger fish to fry. Okay, so we have started to attack these provinces, Solian, Cern. We're not doing much damage, of course, because we have like no units really there. And again, MA Emerald is not harmed, which again, I think is another indicator we can expect some units in the defense there. Okay, what else? Bloomery Fields, despite our best efforts, there's still a lack of supply. We almost did it, but we didn't quite. Now, we'll definitely have enough supply when we move back this way. I did the calculations. So these units will be moving into Elador, where we have tons of supply. And the rest of the units are going to move into Scythia. The researchers will all move into Scythia, whereas Takeo, well, so Takeo is a researcher, but he's not going to move in. But Sonaharu is going to move into Elador. A lot of our troops are going to move there. We're going to use the supply. We'll have actual supply again. And then we're going to be prepared to move out next turn back into Glimmering Fields to pursue our conquest of Ephesibor. Now, to the interesting thing, because you saw that there's a flying carpet and water gems. Basically, we agreed to send 1,000 gold to Ulm. And why is this? Because that's crazy, right? 1,000 gold. We had an unexpected event in White Lake that gave us 1,400 gold. And what I asked, okay, I'm actually just going to read our diplomatic discourse with Ulm. Ulm, we urgently need to task you with a secret mission. We are desperately in need of a flying carpet. We only have access to a level 1 air mage. If you can use whatever means at your disposal to craft this for us, it will be better than us asking for the gems to empower our Air 1 mage twice and then building the flying carpet after that. We are willing to attempt payment by whatever means we have at our disposal. If we can do it, we will. Although I doubt we can give you more money than we already are. I'm trying to use gems to switch to summons at this point, but there's still not enough money going around. A lot of blame for this rests on Airmore and Asphodel. Even Asphodel's lands provide about 15 gold each. Actually, that's true. I forgot about how pathetic these lands are. 13, 29, 54 over here, but even Asphodel, the capital itself, only providing 26. This one, 14. So yeah, we're not really getting much money from the Asphodel lands. And obviously we're not going to be getting much money down here. 0. 100 over here, but 18, 0, 0, 11, 19, you know, basically nothing. Finally something again back at the Forest of Gila. Okay, so let's continue. And then Battle Moose, Ulm, responded, "Greeting, Shinuyama. Unfortunately, we received your request for gems too late. Your messenger got drunk at a few of our famous taverns and is currently enjoying an extended stay in our dungeons. Needless to say, we will happily give you the gems that you ask for. We are also impressed by your summoned Wraith generals, untouchable and slaughtering all that stand before them. While Ulmus mages are not known for the magic skills too much, we do have a few accomplished clairvoyants within our ranks. We anticipated your need for a flying carpet, and it was constructed last month. We will send it to you next month." So this was actually, I think, a message I was composing at the end of 41, but after I had already submitted 41, so for me it was already turn 42. So that's what he said about next month, even though, because we got it this month, so it must have been turn 41 which he received this. Okay, so that's it. So he sent it to us, and we did not know about this event yet. We hadn't looked at the fact that we have so much gold. But eventually that's what this came down to, is the fact that we had this major event. There's also kind of a funny little side issue here. We almost had to roll this turn back and redo it. And I actually mentioned, I was like, please, I mean, I didn't say please, but I said, I would be very happy if we kept this turn. Because if you re-roll the turn, it will redo the events. And we already had this happen once. You guys didn't see it, but we lost a really good potential sorcerer. We had a lucky roll for a sorcerer. I think it was like, I can't remember if it was like 3-3, 3 fire, 3 death or something like that, or 3 death. It was something really useful, and we ended up getting something else out of the major. It might have been Fusoshige. Are they supposed to have water by default? Let's see what the recruit. Yeah, they do have 1 by default, and then they get. Okay, I don't know what it was, but it was a pretty lucky roll. And the sorcerer ended up, we redid the turn, so we ended up losing that sorcerer. And it's still fine, we still got a sorcerer, just wasn't as good of one. I'm not going to complain about that, that's not going to affect the game, but 1,400 gold on the other hand, well, this late in the game it might not affect us either, but Ulm it could affect. So we decided to give most of that money that we acquired just right to Ulm because they were generous enough to oblige us with gems. The reason we were asking for gems is also, which is, I didn't show the full diplomacy like back and forth between Ulm and I, but basically we want gems very, very quickly. We aren't going to need gems very soon. We only need gems right now, and then we're going to begin our exodus from the lands. All our mages are going to go up to Emerald. This army is going to leave from Scythia. So in just a turn or two, we're not going to, we're not going to need gems anymore. But if we can get more gems and more summons and all that stuff, like if we can wring the most amount of potential summons and all that from our lands now, it's better for us. Another thing I mentioned last turn was that let's revisit this, and hey, you know, you guys mentioned that you couldn't see the map, and I finally got my wits about me, and I'm doing this in paint, as you can see, just so I can actually show what we're actually doing. Okay, so at this point we have taken this. Okay, let's do another one. And I guess technically we've now taken like this as well, but and I think actually we took this one, or that's what we're taking next turn. So these are where we've gone. This is like our already conquered incursion into Vanheim. We can also kind of show, maybe this dark green will be fine. We can show what man has also done. They've moved in and they've taken this so far. They're on the capital, and I think that they have that. Let's just take a look. So let's go back in here. Oh, no, so they don't even have Giant's Rest. Okay, so they don't even have that. So they're just 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3. Yep. So the man is not really. They've left 3 provinces up to the north that haven't been taken yet, and I understand that they're trying to rush for the capital, probably because they're worried about me getting there or whatnot, you know, and that's fine. I'm completely happy that they're taking on the siege and, you know, disrupting Vanheim's income, hopefully. So that's good. Now, Ulm, on the other hand, has had a much harder time about it. Anyways, this is our original plan. You can see how much space, how much territory I've taken beyond what I originally planned to take. Especially the ones from Man over here. I don't think that he's even going to ask for them. He may, but these two are just, 24 income, 14 income. This one has an Academy of War, but I think it's probably too late in the game to try to really use that. I don't know what kind of effect that can give you anyway. So the biggest thing we're taking from him, which we, somebody could argue is bad, is Emerald itself, which is the throne. One of the thrones, we don't know which yet, but it's either a 1 or a 2-point throne. We still don't know what thrones we're dealing with from Vanheim, but we know that since there's two level 2 thrones left and only one level 1 left of these 3, if we take any 2 thrones, we'll at least get 1 level 2, and 1 level 1 is possible, or we could get 2 level 2s, which will bring us up from 7 to either 10 or 11 points, so that's our goal. Yeah, so I just want to show that map, show how we're doing, just take that all away. Oh, I was also going to just talk about how Vanheim is actually kind of aggressively moving in and trying to take Ulm's lands, but yeah, the situation here is not great for Ulm. They've lost the sinks as well, so they've actually lost this little part right here. That's gone. They've lost, well, I guess they never had that. The Canadian range is theirs, but the rest of this is all, yeah, all Vanheim right now. So, but Ulm can't be blamed for that. I don't blame them at all. It's not. I'm not saying that they should have done better or that they should have taken that land. I'm just saying that it would be nice if we can constrict Vanheim more. And Ulm is hard pressed to do anything, so we'll try to help them out as much as possible. Okay, getting back to this. that's the diplomacy I want to talk about. The next thing we're going to talk about is just, I guess, the kind of stuff we're summoning. More summer lions. We'll get some more of those. Our fortress is now 3 months away from being built. We have a temple here now as well to improve our dominion. We'll be doing the Naiad Warriors. Again, I messed up on that one last time. We're going to get Shambler skin armor, and that's, again, the prerequisite for our bishop fish to move on land. They're going to be able to breathe air with that Shambler skin. So over here, we're building that lab. We'll be summoning a bishop fish next turn. We're summoning one this turn, and then we can move to Fever Fens at the same time as this one is summoned next turn, which means in 2 turns we'll be able to claim both of these thrones. Now the reason why we need a magic carpet is because we are, let's say this turn we build a lab. This is turn 43. 44, we summon. So that summoned person is available on turn 45. He then claims the throne. On turn 46, he can begin moving. He moves here, 47, 48, 49, 50. So I think it's too late for us, unless he gets a flying carpet. I don't think he can get to any Emerald in time. Or I just really want a magic carpet because it'll stop us from being like cutting it that close. Alternatively, we don't know how, I mean, I guess if we leave next turn in the same situation, so this next turn is 44, 44 to 45 we move here, 45 to 46 we move here, 46, 47 we move here, 47, 48 we move here, 49 to 50 we move here, and then 50, on turn 50 we claim the throne, and I guess turn 50 is resolved. At the end of turn 50, 51 does not get processed. I mean, turn 51 does not get played, but 50 gets processed. We see the results on turn 51, and then that should be from 50 to 51 claiming the throne. So that's why we have to leave next turn. We're in a hurry, and having a magic carpet is just going to help guarantee that we can get to End Emerald on time. I think that's the reason why we wanted it. I'm pretty sure. Looks like we're casting Summon Ghost. It's a new spell for us. We've mostly been using the Ghost. What's it called? The Ghost Generals, yeah, the Shuras. But now we're actually just casting Ghost itself, which will create several ghosts for us, and they're pretty powerful based on what I seen you before was telling me. So we'll look at those next turn when we actually have them summoned. We're also doing Endless Bag of Wines. Oh, that's right. So we're obviously facing a problem with supply. So this turn I've decided to use up all of my nature gems, everything I can, to just construct a lot of endless bags of wine so that we can actually have enough supply while we're moving through Airmore's territory to be able to make it to a Feasible. So endless bag of wine, endless bag of wine. I think we have 4 total. I don't know where they all are. So, and then we're forging a skull staff here, another one, firebrand for our Shuras. Lots of stuff going on. This is like the busy time for all of our different summons and our forging. It's all going to happen now because we're stepping out from the labs next turn, and after that we won't be able to make use of all these items anyway. So that's why we had this huge crunch and asked for Ulm's help to exchange. Now I think that 1,000 gold for the items we've been getting is actually probably a fair trade, and if you take into consideration the fact that we're just slowly every turn sending 250 to 300 gold to Ulm, I don't think that this is like a generous donation in terms of are they being paid back enough, but it's still nice that they're willing to use the, like, we're obviously on good enough terms that they're willing to share those things with us. Because a flying carpet isn't something you would give, even for a lot of money, to one of your enemies. So now I guess this has been a pretty long turn 43, and we'll just have to get back and hopefully get I Seen You Before back on for turn 44 so he can kind of explain what's going on with all the magic stuff. And that'll be good because next turn we'll be moving out from Scythia, and he can try to explain the strategy we'll be using to move through Airmore. But for now, since it's already going over 40 minutes, or almost to 40 minutes, I want to call this video to a close. So I hope you enjoyed. Like the diplomacy behind the scenes, I don't read from those emails very often verbatim. And I know Das Tactic has done a really good job. I mean, I keep seeing that he's putting together a lot of really good compilations of all the diplomacy that's happening. That's probably the series I look forward to looking at the most, just for all those comics. I hope that there's like a timestamp I can just look at the comics, because that's what I'm most interested in. Or maybe I'll ask Das if he can post for the players, like in private, those comics, just so we can see them, because I'm sure we'll all get a big kick out of them once the game ends, once it's all said and done. So, but that whole diplomacy has just been going on the whole time. I've mentioned it quite a few times, but it's one of the reasons why I feel really drained about Dominions 4 right now, is because playing the game itself, you're doing single player, is probably no problem. I mean, you're just advancing your turn, it's fine. It's just any other game. But the hardest thing with multiplayer, and I take the diplomacy side very seriously, so that's why I invest a lot of time into the writing long emails and making it all role play and those kind of things. So that's why I'm being drained from this game. But I don't mean to complain. It's been a blast. It's like an experience like nothing I've had before this game, and the free for all and everything. So I don't like to be competitive in video games very much, and I'm getting a lot of tension from this already. I wanted to be like a nice guy to everyone, and like going after Dwarf Comic, I kind of feel bad about that still, and even like twisting Sabouts into a small little confined area, I felt bad about. I hate to see the whole situation between Agartha and Ulm, because I think that hopefully there's no lasting tensions there outside of the game, but the whole conflict, I just hate being a part of a process which is creating more conflict. I'd rather be a positive influence, like in the real world, rather than if a game is causing you to be upset or really actually angry in real life, then you shouldn't be playing. So I hate to be like a collaborator or part of the problem if somebody's actually getting upset. And I hope that everyone's taking it well, because it looks like we're the only nation in a position to win. So if people are kind of disappointed about not winning, I don't think we have any of those people. But anyways, it's just not fun to lose. Like Dwarf Comic, I'm pretty sure he's not ecstatic about the way things went this game, and Sabouts being pinned down, he might be taking it with a better spirit. I'm kind of joking with him since we're on the 4X podcast together. Otherwise, yeah, but this has been really an experience like nothing else, and we'll continue to see how we can do if we can pull off the Ascension victory. I know that at least I've seen you before, and Sam are rooting for me. So thanks for all the comments you've left so far, by the way. Like, I did read them at least enough to adjust and actually allow some kind of mouse cursor on the maps. Thanks for telling me that. And I'll respond to the comments as I always do. So we'll see you back for the next episode, which will be turn 44, and things are really coming to another climax after the initial climax with Vanheim's attempt to ascend. It's now the slow build up to Shinuyama's our own attempt to try to win the game. So until the next episode, thanks for watching and take care.